Let's take a look at the editing options on a camera phone. Now I'm looking at an iPhone, but these editing options will exist on most camera phones. You can open up your photos and pick a photo you would like to edit. Hit the edit button in the top right. The first option will be to crop. That's the little square icon. You can change the rotation of your photo. You can also change the shape and size of the square. You can also hit preset shapes like a square to make your photo fit inside a perfect square. Once you're happy with your crop, you can then go over to the next option, which are the filters. You can scroll through the filters and see if any of them greatly improve your photo. Now, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of applying filters to photos because I would prefer to go in and make those adjustments myself. You can do that by hitting the next icon over, which is the little adjustment knob. That'll bring up your 3 editing options: light, color, and black and white. Light will be the first one we talk about. When you first click light, you're going to see an adjustment bar that allows you to either lighten or darken your photo. This is the most basic way to edit the light. If you hit the 3 bars over to the right, that'll bring up your more detailed options, and the first one of those is brilliance. The brilliance option targets only the darker areas of the photos and will either pop them and bring them out of the shadows, or you can make those shadows darker. Exposure is going to make the whole photo either lighter or darker, not just the darker areas. Highlights will target only the light areas and let you adjust those light areas to either make them lighter or make them darker. Shadows will target only the dark areas, similar to brilliance. You can make those dark areas darker or those dark areas lighter. Brightness, similar to exposure, will either make the whole photo lighter or the whole photo darker. Now, contrast is a cool tool because it can make your photo very dramatic by making the darks darker and the lights lighter, making your photo have an intense look. Or you can lighten your darks and darken your lights to make the photo have a more cohesive look. The last option is black point. The black point tool targets only the pure black areas, and you can either choose to blacken out those areas completely or to bring those areas up to a gray. Now let's take a look at color. When you open up the color tool, you'll see a scroll bar, and you can scroll it to the right to make it more colorful, or to the left to make it less colorful and eventually black and white. But again, if you hit those 3 bars, you can open up your detailed options. The first one is saturation. Saturation is the color intensity, and you can make the colors way intense or lessen them. The next option is color contrast. This controls how different your colors look from each other. It'll make the reds pop from the blues and the yellows, or it'll make them all kind of turn into a similar-ish color. And the last color option is cast. Now this is a cool tool because it will actually allow you to change the colors of your photo somewhat. It'll either make them warmer, orangier, or make them colder and bluer. And I like the blue look for this photo since it's kind of a cold day. Now there is a last editing option that can make your photos black and white and then control those blacks and whites. And I'm not going to go into too much detail on that here, but just know that it does exist as the last editing option. The other cool thing that you can do when editing photos on an iPhone is find a photo and then scroll down to the live options. Now, if you just have a live photo, you can touch it and it will make a motion, or you can go to loop and it will play that live over and over again, and that's a really cool look. You can also play bounce, which will play it and then reverse it. Pretty cool. Or the last option is to do a long exposure, which will take the motion and blur it, which doesn't look very cool here on the ripples, so let me show you another one. So again, I'll show you what these look like. With this photo, you can do the live, which if you touch it, it'll just show you the motion. can do the loop, which will play it over and over, kind of like a little GIF. You can do the bounce, which will play it and reverse it. And then the long exposure, which will take any of the motion and blur it out. And you can see how it looks pretty cool there with that rapids being smoothed out. All right, so now go on your phone and experiment and see how cool of an edit you can get.